Hi guys, it's been a while since I've talked to you. Um, Let me know, as usual. I always have to ask this. Can you hear me? Just to make sure that I have audio on. I'm pretty sure I do. Got some questions coming up. I'm here for today's live chat. It is May 31st. Okay, you're saying glad to see that I'm back, but can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. Um, I've said it before, I'm not the most technically proficient, although I did get this whole thing going by myself today, which is what worries me. Oh, you can hear me. Okay, great. So, what a busy month it has been. I know the last time we talked was just before I went to Europe with Paula, which was just, as she says, a kick in the pants. We did a media tour through 5 countries, and I've got my vintage Star Wars glass going today. We did a media tour through 5 countries. We went to Sweden, we went to Romania, we went to England, we went to Germany, and we went to the Netherlands. And it was fantastic. I mean, we were debuting our new campaign about truth and beauty, and what that means to us, and how it really is the essence of what Paula and then myself, and really as an extension, everybody associated with Paula's Choice Skincare is all about. So making sure that you have the best possible information to make decisions about what will work and won't work for your skin, how to address your skin type and different concerns. And this was the balancing part, is that sometimes truth and beauty is disappointing. Sometimes you're not going to like what we have to say, but it's our job to tell you, because there's so much misleading or just plain wrong information out there, and a lot of it can hurt your skin, either short term or long term, as in sun damage, and the people that say you don't need sunscreen, and that on and on and on. So let me get to questions. But for any of you tuning in either live or later on from the European Union countries, any of the countries we visited, you guys were so fantastic. Thank you for making us feel so welcome. Thank you for understanding that we only speak English. Both Paul and I were commiserating in the airport, one of the airports we went through, that we wish that we had focused more on learning a second language in high school. I took Spanish in high school, and my high school actually offered several different foreign language courses, including Latin, which, yay. It's kind of a dead language, but still kind of a cool language because so many other languages are based on it. But and Russian. Can you believe that? Back in the late 80s, early 90s, my high school had Russian language courses. It wasn't just French and Spanish, as if those are the only languages. Anyway, yeah, thank you for your patience. So let me dive right into questions here. Ask away. This is our hour to spend together. Me trying to do my best here in my flannel to help get to the bottom of your beauty concerns, your skincare problems. So fire away. Let's start. Put my coaster here. Always use coasters on glasses that sweat. Paulista says, "Hello, Brian. It was so wonderful to see you in Hamburg." Oh, see, here we go. You're so fresh and smart. Thank you for this gorgeous event. Thank you. Oh my gosh. I didn't even see your comment before I was thanking all of you. So, Hamburg, what a beautiful city. I was there back in 2014, and what was weird, it was around the same time of year, and I don't have the same recollection from that original visit of the city being so beautiful. And I doubt that it just got beautiful in the space of 4 years. I think what really happened is that the parts of Hamburg we stayed in maybe weren't as nice as where we stayed this time. Our hotel overlooked the large lake. Name of the lake escapes me, but I did walk around it because the weather was just so gorgeous. And I had some German beer, which was a kick. Maya says, "Missed the live videos. I've just got the peptide booster and I love it. Will there be any new launches anytime soon? Yes, yeah, we are launching more new products throughout the rest of this year and of course into next year. I'm trying to think of what the next. This is. We're not doing a launch in. Are we? No, it was moved. We launches can be moving targets. It can be frustrating, even when we have a final approved product and packaging. Sometimes when we go to place our big scale up order in anticipation of having the product in house by a certain date so we can begin offering it to you guys, we hit a snag. For example, there is a certain product coming up where we had a raw material issue. Not that there was a problem with the ingredient per se. Well, the problem was that the supplier was out of stock. And it's a critical ingredient for this particular product. So we're like, okay, well, when are you going to have it back? Because we can't really move forward without it. But yes, there's more coming. You can expect some pretty big launches between July and September, and then some other launches. Not that they're not going to be big, towards the end of the year. Good stuff on the way. Some of it adding to what's in the line in terms of expanding. Some of it being completely new. Roel says, "Hey Brian, how does the upcoming in September Defense SPF 30 differ from other mineral SPF?" This is one of our newer products. It's a daytime moisturizer with sunscreen. It's mineral based. It's for all skin types. It is, let's see, it's titanium dioxide and zinc oxide as opposed to our Resist Super Light Daily Defense, which is SPF 30 and zinc oxide only. Then we have Skin Recovery and Calm, which are mineral, both for normal to dry skin, and those have a blend, as does Hydrolite. The actives aren't so different per se. It's really about this new formula being for all skin types, and it also imparts an instant radiance boost to the skin, and does not have a white cast. I mentioned over in Europe that my husband Ben loves this sunscreen, and he was, if you have been with us for a while and you remember the Resist Cellular Defense SPF 25, he likened it to that in terms of aesthetics. I would agree to a point that Cellular Defense was really more of a normal to dry skin daytime moisturizer, and this new formula is really more middle of the road in terms of all skin types. It's a lightweight cream. Doesn't feel as heavy as a Cellular Defense. Okay. Ina Pianisti, we'll just go with that. I have a question. I'm a 25-year-old and I have breakouts. I used to use Resist line for oily skin for 2 years, and I still had breakouts, which I used to control with benzoyl peroxide. What is your question? You still have breakouts. So it sounds like you still have breakouts, but the Resist Normal to Oily plus benzoyl peroxide wasn't working. Sounds like wasn't working as well as you were hoping, as opposed to not working at all. No more BP in Germany where I live. Okay. That's unfortunate. So from Paula's Choice Europe, we have a product called, it's in the Resist line, and it's right now it's sold in European Union. And it's called Resist Skin Transforming Multi-Correction or Corrective, I'm sorry if I'm not getting the name exactly right, treatment. It's in a silver tube, 1 ounce. It contains azelaic acid along with about 0.5% salicylic acid and some other cool ingredients. But the azelaic acid can step in and kind of pick up where benzoyl peroxide leaves off. Not quite as strong as benzoyl peroxide. However, given the difficulty in finding benzoyl peroxide without consulting a pharmacist in most European countries, this is our alternative. So if you haven't tried that yet, please do so. I happened to snag some while I was over there, because believe it or not, that product that we sell in Europe isn't just sitting around our office in the United States and everybody, at the office can use it, but we can't sell it. Not a situation like that. So I took some home with me, and my skin was kind of freaking out, for lack of a better description, when after 3 weeks of being away, 10 or 12 flights, 5 countries, different climates, hotel room, this, that, and the other. Yeah, my skin wasn't happy. I did what I could on the road to keep things looking okay, but I noticed when I got home I had some roughness and little red bumps, not acne, but more of like a irritation type, and it just looked dull. And I tried this azelaic acid product, the skin transforming product I just mentioned, and within about 3 nights of consistent use, I'm not kidding, my skin looked 100% better. And that was the only thing I was doing differently. So just from my own experience, I am fully on board with azelaic acid. Very cool. So give that a try. And then, of course, just to close out that discussion, not everyone's acne, no matter your age, responds perfectly or as well as we'd like to over-the-counter products, even those that are well-formulated. Not just talking about Paula's Choice. There are well-formulated acne products from a lot of other brands. Well, not a lot. So many of them are bad, but there's others besides Paula's Choice. You might need to see a dermatologist for topical or oral prescription options to get you to where you need to be. Some cases of acne are just stubborn and need more than over-the-counter skincare can provide. Hi, Florin. Thanks for saying hi. Isaboard says, hey, Brian is a bird, not is a board. Hey, Brian, can I mix a C25 booster with other products, for example, with my Omega Serum? Yes. The silicone-based formula, it's non-aqueous, is part of what helps keep that 25% vitamin C stable. It's not as easy to keep vitamin C stable in water, unless, don't freak out, if you love C15, which is water-based. We keep that stable with certain other ingredients, the packaging, as well as the pH of that product, which is around 3. If you can hold the ascorbic acid, it's an acid, in an acidic environment, in a water-based formula, that will help a lot to enhance stability. However, non-aqueous stability really isn't a concern. In fact, you cannot establish a pH in a product that does not have water. But that does not mean the ascorbic acid isn't effective. So the question is how much you might want to use of that C25 booster in your Omega Serum. Is that what you mentioned? Yes. They should be compatible in terms of mixing them together, and you don't need to worry about anything in the Omega Serum deactivating the vitamin C. That's fine. And that combination should spread pretty well. I like using the C25 booster as a spot treatment, though. It's fine using it all over your face if you want to, but in terms of targeting stubborn discolorations or even post-breakout marks, it's great for that. And sometimes I will dab it around the outer edges of my eye. I'm a little concerned about getting that much vitamin C too close to the eye itself. So you may not be able to see because I may not be high def enough in terms of the resolution, but my fine lines, which luckily haven't turned into deep wrinkles yet. Hopefully they won't, because I'm good about sunscreen and not squinting too much. But my fine lines kind of radiate out this way now, and I find that dabbing the C25 along there kind of helps to not only to soften your appearance, but vitamin C is a pretty proven ingredient in terms of increasing skin's visible firmness. So I like it for that too. But fine to apply it all over. Rafaela says, yay, Brian is back. What do you think about sunscreens that also claim it gives you a tan, and they actually do? Do they actually protect the skin at all? I'm not familiar with, okay, let me back up. Any sunscreen product that gives you the impression or states directly that it allows you to get a safe tan from the sun, first of all, that's an incredibly disingenuous claim to make. It honestly is akin to a tobacco company selling allegedly safer cigarettes and then saying you can smoke more of these and yet minimize your risk of lung cancer or respiratory problems or any of the host of other issues that cigarette smoking can cause. And I'm not coming down on smokers. I used to be one, proud to not be one. So that's just incredibly disingenuous. If it is a well-formulated sunscreen that contains broad spectrum active ingredients, I think you mentioned SPF 15. No, you didn't. Okay, well, forget about that then. But if it's well formulated, and it's possible the sunscreen contains the self-tanning ingredient dihydroxyacetone, DHA, which is a safe ingredient, only affects the uppermost layers of skin. It doesn't get into the body, it doesn't cause liver damage or whatever else you may have heard. Well, maybe if you're drinking the stuff, but don't do that. That, it's I have seen products in the past that have that self-tanning ingredient in them. Clarins may, in fact, still make such products, and sunscreen. The concern I have with that is that in order for sunscreen to be effective and to get the stated level of protection on the label, you need to apply it liberally. When a sunscreen also has a self-tanning ingredient in it that turns your skin a beautiful shade of brown safely, meaning not tan from the sun, you may not apply that type of sunscreen liberally enough, because by doing so, you could actually get too tan, or you run the risk of your sunless tan becoming or developing in a more blotchy fashion. I've seen people put self-tanner on, and they do tend to be more stingy with it, applying a sheer layer, and I get it. Especially if you're using it for the first time and you don't know yet how the color is going to look on you, you don't want to just slather that stuff on. So if that's what you're dealing with and you like the result from the product, and you're not thinking that just because you have it on, you can bask in the sun damage-free, then keep using it. But what I would suggest is applying a regular sunscreen first, and then putting this sunscreen self-tanner combination on top. Breakouts. They recommended me to use Resist Red. This question I was asked earlier about Ina Pianista. I don't know why I'm stumbling over this name, but they're listing this person's listing some of the products that they used. Skin as far as I have seen many whiteheads on my nose and forehead. What do you think? Maybe I should change to AHA. Whiteheads on the nose, that's not very common, at least from what I've heard from people over the years. Whiteheads tend to be more of a problem, like they're also known as milia. They can kind of show up under the eye area, often on the forehead, but usually on the nose, blackheads are more of a concern. Not that whiteheads can't occur on the nose. And you're using the 2% BHA liquid, dry skin clinical retinol at night. I'm wondering if I like that. You might want to consider the Resist 1% retinol booster instead of the clinical retinol, because it's a kind of a sheer fluid formula as opposed to the more thicker lotion of the clinical retinol. I'm wondering if that might help. I don't think you'll see a difference for whiteheads changing to AHA. You can try it, but because whiteheads, also known as closed comedones, tend to be more stubborn, you need that lipid or oil-soluble action of the BHA to really get great results. What you could look into is finding an esthetician in your area that can do a BHA peel at about a 20 to 30% concentration. You could also consult a cosmetic dermatologist, and one or two of those peels could really start to bring everything into balance for you, and then your current skincare routine, in addition to the ongoing benefits it provides, would be maintenance mode for those whiteheads. Riesling 1, Riesling. Where in the routine should I use the Resist Superlight Antioxidant Serum? Well, it is generally applied after your exfoliant. Depends on how you're setting up your routine. Our typical recommendation with Paula's Choice products is you cleanse your face first, apply toner, apply a leave-on exfoliant, either AHA or BHA, fine to alternate between the two. You do not need to layer them one after the other. Do one in the morning, one at night, alternate days. And then in the morning, you would put on your serum, finish with your daytime moisturizer with SPF, and move on to makeup if you wear that. At night, pretty much the same order, but at night, if you're applying more products, that's kind of what I do. I use fewer skincare products during the day, more at night. I don't mind layering so much at night. I use a couple of our serums. I have our whole collection of boosters and kind of rotate those in as needed. I have like 2 or 3 favorite boosters, the peptide booster and the hyaluronic acid booster, and the 1% retinol booster probably being my mainstays these days, and then the others get rotated in occasionally. Those all have similar textures, whereas the serum I like is a bit heavier because out of our regular antioxidant concentrate type serums, the 2 that I like the best are the original dark blue tube Resist Super Antioxidant Concentrate Serum, which is silicone based and has a thicker feel. It's not like occlusive or greasy. It can look greasy. I don't think it feels greasy. Maybe you do, depending on your skin type and what else you're using, and I can see that. I also like our Resist Intensive Wrinkle Repair Retinol Serum, which has a similar texture, maybe a little silkier than the serum I just mentioned from Resist. So I go back and forth between those 2 at night. In that instance, because both of those serums are heavier than any of the boosters I normally use, at night I'll put a booster on and then the serum. So if you're using a booster, we generally recommend layering products in order from thinnest to thickest. And you can experiment. It's also fine to, if you're using a booster, dispense a few drops or a small amount, pump it out depending on which one you're using, and then add your serum, mix it up in the palm of your hand, and apply it to your skin. You can also apply it one after the other. It's your call. There's no right or wrong way there. But I will say, if you're doing the hand mixing, and then of course you'll have a little bit of product left on your hand, don't just wipe that off on a towel or with a Kleenex. Put it someplace else. Put it on your neck. Put it on your chest. Put it on your arm. It's all skin. Needs those ingredients. Don't waste them. Brianna. Brianna. Hi, Brian. I have a question. I have been using the Resist Weightless Body Treatment 2% BHA on my arms for KP. Almost all of the bumps are gone, but I still have lingering redness. Advice. That redness might go away as you continue to use the product. What you could try, make sure, first of all, that your body cleanser isn't a soap, even a bar cleanser. They can contain ingredients that aggravate the skin and can lead to that lingering redness. The other issue, even if you're not using a bar soap or a bar cleanser from the neck down, is that a lot of body washes and shower gels are highly fragranced. So try to find one that is minimally fragranced or fragrance-free. Paula's Choice has our All Over Hair and Body Shampoo, which is totally fragrance-free. If you like something richer, creamier feeling, which is my preference, I use the Dove Sensitive Skin Body Wash. I used to go back and forth between that one and one from Olay called Ultra Moisture. That I don't know if Dove tweaked their formula, but I'm just really kind of grooving on that one these days. And I haven't bought the Olay one in quite some time. The husband doesn't complain. We share body wash, so that's good. And he doesn't like heavily fragranced products either. So give that a go. And if you live in the US or Canada or Australia, try occasionally using our advanced pore refining treatment from the Resist line. It's a product that we originally formulated for the face, for like stubborn clogged pores and more advanced signs of aging, but it contains 4% salicylic acid and some really potent soothing plant extracts. And it's a serum-like texture, so what you could do is maybe once or twice a week, either underneath or in place of the weightless body treatment, put a few drops of that on your upper arms, and then see if that is the nudge your skin needs to really and finally reduce that redness. But I'm so glad that your bumps have responded to that. I just sent a tube of that to my friend Kristen. We got together for lunch on Memorial Day, and she's sitting there at the table in a sleeveless top and kind of leaning on the table, and she was kind of doing this to her arm. And I don't go around pointing out people's skin issues. They're well aware of them for the most part. And, if you know what I do for a living and you want to ask me a question about what to do about it, that's fine. But I'm not one of those people that, looks at the grocery store clerk and says, I've got something for that bad acne, or the, woman on the bus who's like, yeah, you could look younger. That's not my style. But you got concerns about that. Obviously, this is what we're doing right now. Come talk to me. Where was I going with all that? Off track. Anyway, yes, my friend Kristen. She opened up about that concern, and I said, I think what you're dealing with is this. And have you tried this type of a product? If not, I'd love to send you what we have for this problem, because we've gotten such great feedback. I mean, really, just some break your heart, when they talk about what it was like in the past and never being able to wear sleeveless this and always being embarrassed, and they use our product, and then they'll write us these heartwarming letters about getting their confidence back and having this beautiful, gorgeous, smooth skin again. And it's just, I love reading feedback like that. I don't love that these people had to go through that, but the fact that they found a solution to a problem that has often confounded them for years, and that we were able to provide that solution for them. I mean, that's why we do what we do, and that's what keeps us going. Okay, how are we doing on time? We're actually doing pretty good on time. But we started early, at least a little bit early, because I missed you guys, and I was ready to go. Brian, I was using BHA 2% for a year, only once a day. Let's assume you're talking about the 2% BHA liquid, because everyone and their mother uses that. Unfortunately, my skin got so dehydrated, red, sensitive, and damaged that I don't know how to fix it anymore. What should I do? I'm not quite sure how to advise you on that. Narmeen, maybe that's how you say that. Reason being is I need more information from you as far as what else you were using over the course of that year. You might want to reach out to, if you're in the States, reach out to our client services team via email and have them put you in touch with me one-on-one so we can troubleshoot this a bit more. Might be a bit too complicated to answer in this format. But I do want to help, so let's see what we can do. Christopher says, hi, Brian. What's your opinion on brands that encourage mixing all products together, including sunscreen, in the palm of the hand before applying? Is sunscreen effectiveness not compromised? That is a bad idea. For the most part, any of the leave-on products except sunscreen that you want to mix together in one big skincare soup and then put on your face, very few reasons not to do that if you want to give it a go. But doing so with a sunscreen would absolutely reduce its effectiveness. You need to have sunscreen, whether it's your daytime moisturizer with sunscreen, whether you rely on your foundation or a tinted moisturizer for your sun protection on the face. It always needs to be the last skincare product you apply. When you put makeup on over sunscreen, the goal is, makeup is designed to stay on the surface of skin. If it absorbed into the skin, you wouldn't get the coverage, you wouldn't get the color. Imagine applying a blush and it's like, oh, where'd it go? It absorbed, it's gone. Maybe we'll put more on. Blush and other cosmetic products can fade throughout the day in response to your skin's oil, how much you perspire, the climate, is it really humid? That's a separate issue. With this type of situation, though, it's sunscreen, separate step. I know what I was getting at. Skincare is designed to absorb in to a certain degree the skin's uppermost layers. You want the sunscreen to stay at skin surface. Rafa wants to know if I think Wayne Goss is hot. Um, he's not my type. Let's just say I think he's a very nice guy. I've met him in person. He's incredibly gracious. He has a classic British sense of humor. Um, he's yeah. I can go on and on about Wayne Goss and his uh, hospitality, and I think that he does some fantastic videos. But on a personal level, he's just not my type. Elena says, "Come to Russia." Plus, I'm married. Come to Russia, please. I cannot find your products here. That is true, and I am sorry about that. I haven't heard any whisperings of us expanding into Russia. Never say never, and that is for the most part, that's a part of our business that I'm not directly involved in, at least not in terms of up to the minute news. Florin says, "Damn, I cannot believe I missed you guys coming to the EU. Since I've missed the event, will you guys be coming back here by the end of the year?" No, I don't think so. I know Paula is going to be doing some media in some of the Asian countries, I believe Vietnam, Thailand, and also visiting Hong Kong. And then on to Australia in the fall. And I don't know 100% yet if I will be going with her. I don't think I'll be doing the Asian leg of that media thing, and maybe Australia, but nothing for sure. But Europe, because of the complexity of that type of tour, the amount of coordination that goes into this type of trip is mind-boggling. It's, as Paula will say, it's out of my wheelhouse in terms of even being able to begin to put something like that together. So our hats are off to the women at Paula's Choice Europe and our various PR firms in countries in Europe that just went out of their way to coordinate a very seamless series of events for us. What we've been doing in terms of European tours, the trend that we've established seems to be like every 2 years. We don't do multiple countries like in between these bigger tours. We'll do like some smaller things, like we'll do media in London, or we might go to Amsterdam, or even to Germany, because those markets are larger for us, and they have a stronger media presence there. I mean, the notoriety, good notoriety, because there can be bad notoriety, that we have in the UK, for example, is just tremendous. I was really, I mean, I've been to London, for example, several times, traveling for work, and it just gets bigger every time. It's like you guys have just really embraced Paula's Choice philosophy, our content, and the products, and that's just wonderful. Because Lord knows, particularly in the metropolitan areas of the UK countries, there's a lot of skincare options and more coming. Let's see. Aphrodite says, "Hello from Greece. I would love to visit Greece someday. I love PC. I have super sensitive skin and rosacea. Should I use retinoate instead of retinol?" You can experiment with it. Retinoate for those who aren't familiar, it's a variation of retinol. The ingredient that you'll see on the label, there's a couple of different ones. There's retinol, retinoate, RETINYL, as opposed to OL. And then there's hydroxypinocolone retinoate. There is some research showing that those versions of retinol are somewhat gentler to skin than pure retinol. But from what I've seen, the differences are more marginal. I'm trying to think of a food example, and probably like the difference between like whole milk and 2% milk. Like whole milk has 8 grams of fat in a cup, and 2% has 5 grams of fat. Not a big difference. Now you might like the taste of whole milk better than 2%, just like your skin might like retinol better than one of these variations. And there are some products out there that combine retinol with those other ingredients, which is also interesting. So given that rosacea and sensitive skin can be extra temperamental in general, if you know you're sensitive to retinol, you could try one of the alternatives and see how your skin does. But as I said before, one of the frustrating aspects of rosacea is that it can react sometimes strongly to even the most innocent, benign cosmetic ingredients. Retinol and the various retinoids used in skincare are what I would consider more bioactive ingredients. That does not mean that everyone is going to have a bad reaction to them, or that you need to build up a tolerance to retinol and you've got to go through this horrible retinol stage before you come out the other side. Some people are just sensitive to retinol, particularly higher amounts of it. So I always tell people, if you are new to retinol, don't jump in with a super strong retinol product. Use a quote unquote regular strength retinol serum or moisturizer or whatever texture you prefer, and see how your skin responds. And you don't have to use it every single day to benefit from it. I'm a prime example. I don't put a retinol product on every day, not necessarily because my skin reacts to it, which really it doesn't when I'm using well-formulated products. And now I know what that means. But there are other ingredients that I like using as part of my overall skincare routine, particularly in regards to fighting signs of aging. And I find that my skin does better when I don't combine them all at once. So there's my little side story. MVeg Potato says, hiya. Is that little... I think your avatar is that character from Bob's Burgers. Tina. Is that her name, Tina? Oh my gosh. I love that show. I don't watch it that much, but when every now and then I'll be channel surfing and it's on, and I'm like, Bob's Burgers! Does using primer under makeup reduce the harm from makeup that contains alcohol or fragrance? Depends on what's in the primer, but yeah, I would say so to a certain degree. Primarily, because if you're using a silicone-based primer and your makeup contains a bit of denatured alcohol, because really these days you're not finding a liquid foundation that's alcohol-based. There's usually 3 or 4 ingredients ahead of that. My prediction, I don't have research to back this up, but my prediction would be that if you've got that silicone-based primer on and you put the foundation over it, that the alcohol is going to evaporate before it could get through that layer of primer. So if you're looking to me to say yeah, I think it's okay to use a foundation with alcohol in that situation, I would say yes, as long as it's not alcohol-based, meaning alcohol is like ingredient number 1 or 2. Anthony says, hi, Brian, I've just been on holiday, and was just my slight British accent there because, Americans say vacation, and the Brits say on holiday. Actually, that's true throughout Europe. It's not just the Brits. I was diligent about SPF, yet all my freckles have come out on my arms and face. Am I just freckle prone? Products I use are C15, tretinoin, blah, 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 and niacinamide booster. So, Anthony, you and I are kindred spirits, at least in the skincare realm. I can't explain why this happens, not with a strong degree of certainty, but I have the exact same thing happen on my arms every summer. Even when I use mineral-based sunscreens like SPF 50, we're talking the thick stuff, and I hate the way those feel on my arms, and it gets all over everything. But I'll even get some freckling on my arms. You can kind of see some of it because they just get darker every summer from that. It doesn't happen on my face. I can't explain why. I don't know if physiologically in my situation I have less melanin in my facial skin than I do on my arms, or if it's that the melanin on the skin of my arms is more sensitive to UV light. Because remember, even the best sunscreens, even the mineral ones, still let in anywhere from 2 to 3% of UV light. So it could be, in your situation, that's just enough to trigger the extra melanin production. Um, the good news is, uh, a lot of people, myself included, think a smattering of freckles is cute and or handsome, and on men, I kind of think it makes them look a bit more rugged and outdoorsy. However, uh, having originally started to wear sunscreen for two reasons. One, because my dermatologist prescribed Retin-A and basically, cornered me and said, young man, I'm not letting you use this unless you commit to wearing sunscreen every day because you are far too fair-skinned. And this was back in the day when the prescription form of retinol definitely made skin more sun sensitive. It just wasn't as carefully formulated as it is today. And it would break down when you went out in the sun. One more reason to wear sunscreen. But the other reason is because I didn't want my face to get all freckly, which would happen when I wasn't wearing sunscreen, and then that freckling would eventually turn into somewhat of a tan, somewhat, like I'd get one shade darker. As I've gotten older, though, that stopped. I can't, yeah. I wonder, I don't think if you're living in, well, never mind. Anthony, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Keep applying the sunscreen on your arms because it's not practical to go around your daily life with your face covered up. You can look to UPF, ultraviolet protection factor rated clothing, like long-sleeved t-shirts, and sport those instead of worrying about sun protection for your arms. And maybe that will be an even better option for you. That type of clothing has a very tight weave. It's usually cotton, so it remains breathable. You can be out and about on a hot day and not feeling like you're the only one wearing polyester. It's cotton. The rash guard type swim shirts, which is not what I'm talking about, tend to be made of synthetic fabric, and those can be a little bit more stifling, which is why they're really best worn for the water. But I like that type of clothing for the summer weather, particularly if I'm going to be outside for a long time, because that means I don't have to put more sunscreen on my entire upper body and worry about reapplying it, in an hour or two. So it's more expensive at first in terms of the cost of that clothing versus a single bottle of sunscreen, but in the long run, knowing all the money you'll save not having to cover that large area of your body, not that you're fat, with sunscreen, I think you'll come out ahead in the end, and you might just find that type of fabric stops the freckling, because the UV light is just really not able to get through there. Of course, you'll still need sunscreen for your face. Hats, those help a lot. Tatiana says, hi, Brian, glad to know. Great to have you back. I hope you've enjoyed your trip to Europe. Any skincare discoveries there? So I didn't get a whole lot of time to venture out to the shops and see what everybody else was offering. We did do an event. Paula and Nadine Baggett, who is a well-known UK beauty expert. She has her own YouTube channel. Check it out. She is an incredibly sweet, kind, genuinely nice person. Loved meeting her. She did an event kind of as a co-host with Paula at Selfridges in London, which if you're not familiar with Selfridges, it is the department store in London. From what I understand from the locals, the department store in London used to be Harrods, but over the years, most of the natives have gravitated toward Selfridges, and the store is mind-bogglingly diverse in terms of what they offer. Like in the States, you'll go to Macy's and you've got women's clothes, men's clothes, shoes, cosmetics, housewares, and that's about it. And that covers all the bases of most U.S. department stores. Selfridges has all of that in spades, and then there's different designer departments. They have wine, liquor, restaurants, gourmet kitchen shop. Textiles, kids wear. Just on and on. Like an incredible jewelry selection, and the cosmetics department was just off the charts gorgeous. I didn't know that that shoe designer Christian Louboutin had a cosmetics line. He does. It's at Selfridges. But it was incredibly gratifying to do this event at Selfridges because, first of all, it sold out faster than any other event that they've done there since they started doing these brand hosted events. And the audience was just incredible. I mean, Paula was on fire. It was it was a brilliant night. I think the event was scheduled to last about an hour once things got started, and it ended up going for well over 2 hours. And we met some lovely, lovely people. Yep, niacinamide booster and the C15. Anthony, I think you're using a good mix of products to keep the discolorations and freckles in check. I should add that in the fall, when the weather in Michigan turns and it's not as intensely sunny and the temperature's cool, so I'm not wandering about in lighter weight or short sleeve clothing, I do use the C15 Super Booster C15 on my arms for about a month, and I'll sometimes swap in the niacinamide booster, and typically by November, December, the darkness I got from the sun exposure, even with sunscreen, has faded significantly. So I just kind of have come to the conclusion that that's how it's going to be for me. And you gotta go out there and live your life. I'm not going to be a hermit, even with everything I know about the sun. I take the precautions I need to, but I'm not going to stop going outside or enjoying a beautiful day because I'm worried about freckles. I mean, there's only so much you can do. Oh, let's see. Philos 590. These are my favorite YouTube videos. I always learn something new from you. Well, thank you. Geez, that's quite a compliment given the range of YouTube videos, and there's a lot of good people out there. I heard vitamin C helps protect the skin from UV rays. True. How much of a difference does it make? Does it have to be L-ascorbic acid? I can't say how much of a difference it makes, largely because the studies that have shown that it makes a difference have primarily looked at UVB radiation, which are the sun's burning rays. And they're typically done on albino or very, very white mice. And they either the mice are naturally hairless or they shave the hair, and then they put a vitamin C concoction, typically with ascorbic acid or L-ascorbic acid, those are interchangeable, on the mouse skin, and then they put the mice under a source of UVB radiation. And then they check periodically and note any color change and other cellular changes to the skin for better or for worse, and then gauge or come to the conclusion that there's typically a control group, meaning several mice that do not have the vitamin C put on, but they're still exposed to that light, and not surprisingly, their skin kind of fries. And then these mice who have the vitamin C concoction, not that their skin doesn't turn color, but clearly the vitamin C is exhibiting a positive effect toward mitigating some amount of damage and that inflammation that occurs underneath the skin that leads to redness. Having said that, I want to caution you that the research absolutely isn't showing that vitamin C is a sunscreen, meaning that you can just put a vitamin C product on and go out in the sun, no sunscreen needed. That is not true. What the research has shown is that a vitamin C product can make a sun protection product even more effective because it further reduces some of the damage that UV light exposure causes. Again, going back to what I said a moment ago about no sunscreen blocking, which is why the term sunblock was, at least in the States, was made illegal. You can no longer market a product as a sunblock. You can no longer market a sunscreen as being waterproof or sweat-proof. All of them need to be reapplied, and no sunscreen is 100% capable of screening out 100% of UV radiation. So that little bit that gets through, when you have those proven antioxidants like vitamin C, either as part of your sunscreen or applied in a stronger form, as in our boosters, underneath, that can be great. That can be a wonderful extra measure of environmental defense that complements your sunscreen rather than replaces it. And just to answer that second part, the research I've seen is about ascorbic acid, so I would steer you toward that. But given the way that other forms of vitamin C work, and that some of them, like tetrahexyl-decyl ascorbate, magnesium ascorbyl phosphate, are inherently more stable than ascorbic acid. Therefore, in theory, they should last longer on the skin. Depends on the formula. I would imagine they would have a similar, if not equal, benefit. So I wouldn't shy you away from that. But if you wanted to use what the research has shown to be effective, that would be ascorbic or L-ascorbic acid. Jennifer says, hi, is it okay to use primer after I apply sunblock? It's not sunblock, Jennifer. What did I just say? And use a beauty blender to apply foundation. By the way, I'm loving the new peptide booster. Definitely see the difference in my skin. Me too. Oh my gosh. And I finally got Paula to try it. People tend to think that Paula uses everything, especially anything that's new, and she doesn't. She's actually fairly set in her routine in terms of what she uses, and you can find that information in an article she wrote on our website. I think it's called Paula's Skincare Routine. And for the most part, that's still pretty accurate. I know she added the peptide booster because I just kept on her about it. And one of the things that we talked about in our presentations was peptides and the latest research about peptides, and then why we use certain peptides in our peptide booster, and I'm saying peptide way too much. So she finally started using that, and she is loving it as well. Paula is one of those people where, having grown up with oily, breakout-prone skin, she still carries that fear with her that whenever she introduces or thinks about introducing something new into her routine, there's a high likelihood it's going to break her out. And the routine that she's established that really keeps her skin on an even keel in that regard, no breakouts, and you add something new and you're like, oh damn, I got that breakout, I shouldn't have done that. So that's where all that comes from. And then of course the other thing is, with the number of products that Paula's Choice has, nobody should be using all of our products. They're for different skin types, different concerns, texture preferences. Our line has just grown to the size where we're offering so many options for so many different people and combinations of concerns, skin type, and texture preference that it would be silly for everyone or for even one person to try to use everything. Okay, so back to your question, Jennifer. You're using a primer after you apply sunblock and use a beauty blender. So what I would suggest is looking, because I'm concerned if your primer doesn't have sunscreen and you're applying it over your daytime moisturizer with sunscreen, and then you're using a beauty blender to apply your foundation, and there could be a little bit of rub-off happening. Sorry, I was going to say I'm not a fan of the beauty blender, but that is not what I meant. I am a fan of the beauty blender, but on a personal note, if I'm putting foundation on, I do prefer my fingers, and then I use a sponge like the beauty blender to smooth everything out and fine-tune. But I'm concerned that you're compromising your moisturizer with sunscreen too much. And so what I would advise is to start using a primer with sunscreen built in. We have one. A couple other brands do as well. I believe Smashbox does. But what doesn't Smashbox have a primer for? They are the primer king, or queen if you prefer. And just like Paula's Choice is the BHA exfoliant queen, given the number of them that we have. I don't think there's a brand out there that has as many BHA exfoliants as we do. If you know of one, shoot me a message, but I think I'm right there. So try that, and then there's so many good foundations with sunscreen, and any time you can get more sunscreen into your routine, it's a good thing. If for no other reason than covering your bases in terms of liberal application. It's not that SPF 30 and then SPF 15 and then another SPF 15 is going to get you SPF 60, but it's going to get you more than 30 for sure if you're applying enough of it. Okay, time-wise, okay. A little bit more. Dortz says, hi, Brian. Looking forward to the PC Defense SPF that was teased in the EU press tour. Does it add instant radiance in the same way the Pure Radiance does? Yes, it does, but because of the mineral, it's not quite as pearlescent, and because of the mineral actives, you're getting a bit of a, how to say this? I want to say lightning effect. It's like a lightning brightening type thing. You really have to see it. But I don't mean to imply that the SPF product causes a white cast on skin. It really doesn't. If you have darker skin tone like Oprah Winfrey or darker, that gorgeous, gorgeous actress, and I'm not surprised Lancome snapped her up as a spokesperson, Lupita Nyong'o. I may have butchered her last name, and my apologies, but you probably know who I mean by now. She is just stunning. If your skin tone is darker like that, this product might look a little purple, kind of lavender would be a better word, violet type, but it blends in nicely. I think, though, when you try this, you could get even more of an attractive glow effect, not to mention the benefits from the ingredients in Pure Radiance by combining them both. Thea says, hello, Brian. I had really bad pimples and acne after the Easter week, and my skin was so stubborn. Thank God I found PC. Thanks for making the clear blemish treatment. The product really saved my skin. Yay. That's awesome to hear. Thank you, Thea. Fisco 590. I also wonder if there are any other skincare ingredients that can have an effect when it comes to UV protection and boosting your sunscreen. A lot of antioxidants do. Green tea has been shown to suppress UV mediated, I'm sounding very geeky now, damage in skin. Not just green tea, but the most active antioxidant compound in that plant, which is epigallocatechin gallate, shortened to EGCG. We use that in some of our products along with whole green tea. Vitamin E. Vitamin E and vitamin C play very nicely together. They kind of both help bolster each other when either one starts flagging. Antioxidants, I think I've explained this, maybe not on a live chat, but the way that antioxidants, be they vitamin C or antioxidant plant extracts, work on skin, they're sort of like little kamikaze pilots. That meaning that if you're not familiar with the term kamikaze, antioxidants are essentially on a suicide mission in that as they neutralize free radicals that left unchecked would continue to damage your skin, they get weaker and they start breaking down with each new neutralization. Those free radicals that are bouncing around are looking for another electron. They're unhinged molecules, and they're looking for another electron to steal to become whole again. And when you have antioxidants on skin, the antioxidant can donate that electron so that the free radical doesn't squelch it from your skin, because doing so it's like it literally causes a chain reaction. You've got this damaging free radical molecule. If it grabs an electron from your skin, from some part of your skin, then that molecule or cell in your skin starts looking, it becomes unhinged, becomes a free radical in and of itself, and starts looking for another electron to pair with it to make it whole again. And that's the whole cascading damage effect that antioxidants, both those that are naturally present in your skin and those that we apply topically, can help to neutralize. Rocco wants to know about Q10 and fish oil supplements that I mentioned a few weeks ago, as far as telling you guys what concentration I take it and how often. I take about 600 milligrams of omega-3 fish oil, and it's a combination of salmon oil and cod liver oil from the Nordic. I think the brand is actually Nordic Naturals, but I'd have to look at the container. I typically take those in the morning with food, I find that when I take fish oil supplements with a meal, that I have pretty much zero likelihood of having what some people affectionately call, well, not so affectionately, fish burps. So that doesn't happen. And these particular fish oil supplements have some citrus oil inside the capsule. So if you do belch a little bit, what you taste, sorry to be, I'm not deliberately trying to gross you out, but what you taste is the citrus, like a lemon, as opposed to fish oil. So yeah, that's what I like. The CoQ10, I'd have to run and get the bottle, and I don't want to do that because we're running out of time. But I believe it's about 250 or 500 milligrams, and I also take that with food, and I do it once daily. What I'm doing in that regard, it works for me, and it's something that I've cleared with my physician. Absolutely talk to your physician or another healthcare provider that you consult before introducing such supplements to your diet. For example, in the case of omega-3 fish oils, if you routinely eat fatty fish, you may be getting plenty of omega-3 fatty acids, and it could be a problem to add omega-3 fish oil supplements to your routine. I don't eat fatty fish as often as I would like to. There's various reasons for that, including availability, so I kind of cover my bases with that supplement. But for example, when I was over in Europe, we ate fresh fish quite a lot, and I actually scaled back on my omega-3, which I took with me, the supplement. I scaled back on taking those on the days that I knew I'd be eating fish, or that I suspected I would. Because when I'm in a restaurant that has fresh, locally caught seafood, I'm a sucker for that stuff. I will choose it over a steak or some sort of a chicken entree every time if the place is known for their seafood. There aren't a lot of places in the area where I live that have that type of selection. So, okay, let's do a few more questions, and then I gotta bolt out of here. We'll go a little bit over the hour. Caleb says, what is your opinion on sunscreen products which contain some amount of citrus oils, like they are toward the middle or bottom of the ingredient list? Will they still provide good UVA, UVB coverage? So, first of all, the citrus oils do not provide UVA, UVB coverage. Just to clarify, because the way your question's written, I just want to make sure you knew that. The UVA, UVB coverage is from the active ingredients, of which there are a finite list of approved. Assuming the sunscreen has gone through the required testing, and let's assume that that's the case, because most commercial sunscreens, if not all of them, do that, because there is a huge price to pay in terms of fines and regulatory, crackdowns if you do not. You really do have to be able to prove that the product that you are selling provides the amount of sun protection stated on the label. So there's that. Citrus oils can be a problem for skin, not only because most of them can cause what's known as a phototoxic reaction when skin is exposed to the sun without protection. I know we're talking about a sunscreen here, but for some people, again, with that little amount of UV radiation that can get through a sunscreen still, that could be enough to cause a phototoxic reaction if there's enough citrus oils in the product, and you could end up with discolorations that you don't want. But even if that doesn't happen, citrus oils are inherently irritating because they contain volatile fragrance ingredients. That's what makes a lemon smell so wonderful. That's what gives you that fresh grapefruit scent when you slice open a grapefruit. And they're wonderful for your nose and your state of mind, as far as like, that's refreshing. Not so great for your skin. Even though they do deliver antioxidant benefits, it's kind of a push-pull in terms of getting good and bad. So my bottom line with that, Caleb, is that there are so many sunscreens that don't contain those ingredients and provide great broad spectrum protection that I'd hate to see you settle for one that is also putting your skin at risk of for irritation. If this is a sunscreen that you just absolutely love and you've tried tons of them and this is the only one that you feel works for your skin, okay, I would rather you go with sun protection that contains some problematic ingredients than go without, because the risk of going without sun protection is far greater than what any irritant could do to your skin. But if that is not the case, experiment with some that don't contain citrus oils, or find one that has citrus extracts, which are going to be less of a problem than the oil. Christopher, hey Brian, is there any research supporting anhydrous L-ascorbic acid getting into the skin to the same extent as low pH water-based L-ascorbic acid? It really depends on the size of the ascorbic acid molecule and whether or not the product's delivery system is primed to allow that to happen. So like with our C25 booster, the silicone-based formula, the silicones remain permeable, so the vitamin C can diffuse through them and set up shop in the skin. It happens at a slightly slower rate than with this water-based C15. The reason for that is because we did not want to give your skin a hit of 25% vitamin C, ascorbic acid, all at once. We wanted it to diffuse more gradually through the skin, and the silicone-based non-aqueous formula allows that to happen. I can't necessarily speak for how other brands do it. That's what we do. But L-ascorbic acid, in pretty much as long as the vehicle doesn't stop its penetration into skin, and most cosmetic ingredients won't do that, they can delay it. It just cause it to happen slower. And sometimes that's deliberate because that keeps more of the vitamin C in the outer layers, the uppermost layers of skin. You want some of it to be there as well. First line of defense. And we talked earlier about vitamin C being a good environmental defender. So I wouldn't want a vitamin C product that just sends everything into the skin, leaving nothing on the surface. You kind of want it to go through the multiple layers and have some of it stick around too. All right, 2 more questions. Who haven't we talked to? There is a lot of questions. My goodness. Okay, Elena, hope you saw the comment from Pamela D. Take a look at that. Rima says, is it true that makeup or mineral sunscreens can degrade avobenzone sunscreens if applied on top? Should I be worried that it will disrupt UVA protection? If the avobenzone is stabilized, and most of them are, octocrylene is a common stabilizer. There are other inactive ingredients that can also stabilize avobenzone, so don't panic if your avobenzone sunscreen doesn't also list octocrylene. The issue with avobenzone's stability is well known among sunscreen chemists, and they are, the good ones at least, are very familiar with how to circumvent that. So just to be clear, it is not a given that just because a sunscreen contains avobenzone, it's not going to be effective on UVA. Maybe 10, 12 years ago, before we knew what we know now about how to stabilize avobenzone to a greater degree, I'd be concerned about that, but I am not concerned about that today. With the mineral sunscreens, because almost all of them, if it's a mineral sunscreen that is at all cosmetically elegant, the mineral actives, I can guarantee it, they are coated and often micronized, made very small, so that they go on more evenly and they look better on skin and actually provide better protection because of their enhanced spreadability. But the coatings that the mineral actives have make it very difficult for the avobenzone and the mineral actives to interact. So there really isn't any concern about either one degrading the other. Interestingly, this all circles back to Europe. There are the combination of avobenzone and I believe zinc oxide, and at one point it was titanium dioxide too, is a permitted combination in European sunscreens. That wouldn't be the case if those ingredients didn't play nicely together. I don't know why. Many people have wondered this, and I've talked with some industry insiders, regulatory people who are just like, dude, I don't know. It frustrates me too. Why that combination isn't permitted in the United States, but it's not. So there you have it. All right, let's see. Oh, that's an interesting question from Alex Zavala. Hola, Brian. I've missed your chats. I'd like to know whether it affects my skin if I clean my makeup brushes with those sprays containing sensitizing ingredients such as orange or lemon extract. As long I'm gonna say no as long as you allow enough time for the brushes to dry before using them again. They might leave a lingering fragrance on the bristles, and a lot of those makeup sprays, the brush cleaning sprays, are alcohol based because alcohol, denatured alcohol, is a strong solvent, and so it can easily break up excess oils that end up on the brush, product residue, cosmetic pigments, allowing it to be rinsed away or just easily wiped off. I wouldn't worry too much about it. If your intention is like spraying your brushes with it and then you kind of wipe it a little bit and then you are using an eyeshadow, the same eyeshadow brush but with a different color, and you're going to be putting it immediately on your skin, that would concern me because you just didn't give it enough time for the volatility to go away. But in situations like that, like when I would do makeup on other people and switch eyeshadow colors, I would just wipe off the brush with a tissue, especially when you're using powder, and kind of go back and forth with the same brush. I found that worked, and I just in the interest of not wasting, I would use like both sides of one tissue. I wouldn't just keep pulling out Kleenex after Kleenex. So anyway, I'm starting to ramble. And we've been going for about an hour and 11 minutes. I do need to get back to work. But again, I'm back. And we'll keep doing these chats. You guys keep showing up for them, which is, it's flattering. It's just like I'm just sitting here in my little home office talking to you, sharing what I know. And you know what? Learning from you guys too. One of the things that we espouse about truth and beauty is that we're on this journey together. We are talking to each other. I never want it to seem like I am talking down to you. If it does ever seem that way, I want you to call me out on it because I don't mean to. Sometimes I do get worked up. And it's only because I really want people who are interested in keeping their skin in great shape and looking their best for as long as possible to heed my advice, because this is what many of us at Paula's Choice spend our days doing, is looking at the information on how you can take the best possible care of your skin and what works and what doesn't and what's a distinct problem for skin and why. So I will continue fighting the good fight for you if you continue showing up and sharing your knowledge with me. And as far as I know, I will be back next week, and I should be doing these every Thursday in June. I am taking a little bit of a vacation middle of the month, so there'll be one week without a live chat because I do gotta rest. But anyway, like I said, I'm babbling, so I'm gonna stop, let you get back to your lives, and I will speak with you next week. Cheers.